is 1997. World chess champion Garry Kasparov takes on Deep Blue, the world's most advanced chess AI system of its time. High noon for man versus machine. And then it happens. Already in the very first game, Kasparov realizes a move by the AI system that he cannot comprehend. Now, this move later turns out is pure randomness, the result of a bug in Deep Blue's code. But instead of realizing the machine's limitations, Kasparov is overtaken by fear. He thinks that this move is sign of a higher intelligence. And he concludes that the machine might be unconquerable by his mere human strategies. That throws him off his match plan. And ultimately he loses. Kasparov's defeat became known as humankind's first major loss against AI. But the human did not lose against the machine's abilities. He lost against the man's fears. Today, I observe something similar. In my capacity as a professor of AI, I get to talk about the technology with a lot of different people. And unwaveringly, one topic comes up: people's fear of AI. They share their concerns of being replaced in their job by a future chatbot, of becoming so dependent on some AI system that they might lose critical skills to lead their lives, of losing their very life to an AI overlord gone rogue. How warranted are such fears? Or put differently, how sober can we afford to think about one of the most defining trends of our time? I would like to help you find an answer to that question by thinking clearly about what AI is and isn't, and by looking at where do some of the most intimidating ideas on that topic come from. So, what is AI? It has been defined as a simulation of intelligent behavior with a computer. So AI is not about the creation of intelligent beings. It's about mimicking the output of intelligence. By any means available, actually we have a whole toolbox full of them, dependent on the intended behavior. Arguably, the most prominent of these means in the last 2 decades has been machine learning. We use machine learning if the intended behavior cannot easily be specified by a set of rules. Consider classifying the set of images into the categories cats and dogs. We cannot give a set of rules that does the trick, but we can give a set of examples of what shall go into the system, visual features, and what shall come out, the category. It then can be differentiated, categorized by, mathematically speaking, a function separating the two classes. Learning then means to systematically manipulate the parameters of the function so that it fits the training set. This is done with a mathematical device we all learned about in school, nothing spectacular. It's called the chain rule of differentiation. What will the learned function implement in the end? It will have learned the likelihood or probability of the outcome, the category, given the visual features. Now, machine learning does not only work for simple visual features and straight lines. We can put in all the pixels of the image, use a more wiggly function template, and then scale it to more data in order to learn that more nuanced relationship. And machine learning also works for different kinds of inputs and outputs. For example, for text as input, and its most likely continuation, the next word is output. That gives us large language models, LLMs, the engine behind products like ChatGPT and the arguable pinnacle of modern AI. So what will have a large language model learned? Quite familiar by now, the likelihood, the probability of the output, the next word, given all the words, the tokens in the input. Quantitatively, this context can become as large as millions of words, and the function will have billions of parameters and will be trained on the whole internet to learn that relationship. What can we say qualitatively about such a model? Well, it's a statistical model. And that means it works fundamentally different than human intelligence. For example, it will be, on average, very good, useful, better than humans, potentially. But in any individual case, it might be wrong, because it only learns about statistical plausibility, about correlation and coincidence, not about causation. Let's make that concrete. I asked one of the modern reasoning models, the best of breed models, the following question. The surgeon who is the boy's father says, I can't operate on this boy, he's my son. Who is the surgeon to the boy? And it's not a trick question, the answer should be pretty straightforward, it's even contained in the text, it says, who is the boy's father? Now, the model computes for 10 seconds, and then replies, the surgeon is the boy's mother, which is profoundly stupid, but to the model, this is actually reasonable, and it tells us why. It says it in the next sentence. It says, this riddle plays on the assumption that a surgeon is male. And actually, variations of my question appear abundantly on the internet as tests for our own human biases, namely our gender bias that typically associates a male with the role of a surgeon. So the model has absorbed all these texts and has learned the utter statistical implausibility of answering anything male to a text that looks remotely like mine. Now, the answer is wrong, but totally plausible to any model built according to the principles of machine learning at scale and trained on such data. Now, the thing is, we don't have any other principles. Not currently, and not at the horizon of research anywhere. So while examples come and go, these fundamental limitations will stay for us for GPT-5, 6, 7, etc. How does such a model now compare to the human? Well, we have said AI simulates intelligent behavior. We have seen that it does so by completely different means than human intelligence. These means come with their own set of fundamental limitations. We have just seen one, the lack of veracity. There are many others. Now, these different means constitute a difference in kind to human intelligence. Think of it using the analogy of a musician and a DJ. While a DJ simulates certain aspects of music creation very well, by design, their method of music creation is not general. There are a lot of aspects of music that are beyond the methods of turntables and remixing. Think of certain genres, certain techniques, and certain settings in which you would like to enjoy live music. Similarly, AI does not simulate humans. It simulates carefully selected aspects of human behavior with a very specific method of cleverly interpolating between pre-recorded human behavior samples. What is the future of such AI systems? Well, it is not artificial general intelligence, whatever that is. It is not an AI overlord on eye level with us. It's rather helpful personal assistants, maybe operating our computers in the future to do our bidding. Limited by imperfections, but quite useful. Where then does this fear of AI come from? It doesn't seem to have a strong root in the technology we have or the underlying science. Here is the thing. It is rooted in widespread narratives. And these narratives are purely based on certain worldviews. Now let me explain that. AI ethicists Timnit Gebru and Emil Torres recently analyzed the underlying philosophies. And they coined the acronym TEDxZHAW to refer to transhumanism, extropianism, singularitarianism, etc. And they show how these philosophies are widespread in the tech industry and globally shape the discourse on AI. For example, you find traits of TEDxZHAW in movies like The Matrix. You find them in the books by Professor Harari. They have quickly become one of the mainstream philosophies in all of Silicon Valley. For example, in the 2023 open letter to ask for a research moratorium on AI to circumvent existential risk, as co-initiator Max Tegmark of MIT is very open to explain, there was not a single technical argument involved to prolong that fear. It was purely based on task wheel philosophies. Now, how does the narrative of AI go according to task wheel? Let me tell you. First, according to task wheel, we humans are nothing but information processors. Just on aging, decaying hardware. That makes us akin, the same kind as machines. Just that we are inferior because, our hardware is fragile. That's a rationalism in task wheel. It goes on that, if we can have intelligence and we are the same as machines, nothing prevents machine from having intelligence. Maybe just now or in the next second. Who knows? It will come soon. And then it will just forever go on to artificial general intelligence and beyond. That's the singularitarianism. And so task realists conclude, we humans should maybe become a little less human and more like machines. That should be our evolutionary path. Well, it goes without saying that these philosophies are highly contested by certain scientific disciplines. But to summarize, we see that the respective philosophies show little regard for human worth and dignity. It comes at no surprise that people confronted with task wheel narratives feel small, intimidated, and worthless. But it's a belief system. You can choose to differ, right? If task wheel is not your worldview, there's considerably less to fear about AI. So, how not to fear AI? Well, it begins with the realization that the AI you fear does not exist. AI is a tool. And if it helps you, stop calling it AI, call it extended intelligence, EI, as we have recently done in an article, because this is what AI can actually do. It extends our own capabilities and helps us improve our life, not take it from us. That means an insurmountable categorical difference still remains, and that means agency remains with us, for the better or worse. Now, that is good news. AI does not take away your freedom. Fantastic. But you might lose your freedom to AI anyway, in a different way, and we need to talk quickly about that. There are two ways how this can happen. First, we might surrender our freedom prematurely to the assumption of inexistent machine capabilities. You want to see how that could look like? Let me demonstrate that. Oh, AI, who calculates probabilities precisely and stores so many patterns. What shall I eat today? What shall I do for a living? Whom shall I marry? Shall I marry at all? Don't laugh. This has precedent in the relationship of humans and artificial intelligence. Remember Kasparov versus Deep Blue at the very beginning? Kasparov didn't primarily lose against an excellent AI system, which it was. First and foremost, he lost the battle in his mind against the assumption of an unconquerable AI system. So we have to not fall into this trap. There's a second way how that can happen, and that is by becoming defenseless against the endless conveniences that AI tools can offer us. AI is the ultimate convenience machine. There's always a button you can press and it helps you with something. Now we know that being human means that we do not come to this planet completely ready. We have to learn, we have to mature, we have to grow. And growing, remember sports, includes an element of pain and embracing that pain voluntarily. Now, if you forego too many opportunities to grow in skill and character by letting AI do the information research, solve the problem, write the essay, you might at some point wake up and realize you have foregone too many opportunities to grow, and you have not become the person you ought to be in order to wield such powerful tools. Now, fortunately, there's a mitigation strategy, and that is know your worth and dignity as a human being. Up your self-esteem, if you wish. If you can say with the parents of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I am loved and I love. I am wonderfully made. I have purpose. I thrive on human relationships. I have a wonderful skill set, but I am more than my skill set. Well, then you will not feel intimidated by a powerful computer. You will not surrender to assumed machine competence. And you will treat yourself, even with necessary pain for growth. We're almost there. But aren't there risks of AI, philosophy or not? Here's a list. Just one of the many that you find in the literature of risks of artificial intelligence. And with the discussion we just had for the last couple of minutes, we now see how this list splits into two lists. And on the right, we have a lot of these things that fuel the fears we have regarding the technology. Now, with what we have heard, we see how some of these points appear exaggerated, like the fear of major job displacements. Why? Because AI does not automate you. It can work alongside you because it can automate tasks, but not a whole human. Others appear completely controllable, like our own dependence on these systems. We have that under control. And finally, some are purely hypothetical, like this existential risk of rogue AI systems turning against us and extinguishing humanity. Well, and then we are left with the risks in green. Yeah, real, existent, but also manageable. Literature and practice are full of approaches to tackle this. Some are technological, others are social, finally some are regulatory. It's not yet solved, but we can handle this. So that is how not to fear AI. First, consider it extended intelligence. It's a tool based on probability functions with its own limitations. Don't assume a scope that is beyond it. Second, reject fears that are purely based on a worldview that you don't even share, and that is not rooted in reality, but in a view of humans and of technology based on science fiction. Instead, go and contribute to the future you want to live in. Use AI where it's appropriate. Tools are for the workers. Enjoy.